My godsend. She's taken care of me these last couple of years. Kathy Helbig with the Kathy Helbig Group. Good morning, Kathy Helbig.
Good morning.
Real estate and sellers. Let's start there.
Yes. So don't expect a big drastic change this year. I feel like we're slipping right back into what we had last year. So sellers, get going, get your house on the market. We're seeing buyers come out. We're even seeing first-time buyers come back out again.
Really?
Yeah, with the I think we're at a 6-month decline in inflation.
Right.
Rates are coming down a little bit, and they're expected, what I've heard a couple different people say is we're expecting to be around 5 or 5.2 or something, later in this year. Right. So definitely we're seeing less inventory still in St. Louis. We have less inventory this year than we did last year. Which is
less inventory now than last year.
The same time last year, which is what happened the prior year.
Right.
So that's a predictor. Less inventory, still lots of buyers. Home builders that sentiment's coming back a little bit. So we're seeing more people ready to get out there and build. So I would say one of the things that keeps coming up in topics of conversations with other agents is, I haven't lived through this market before. What should I be telling my sellers? What kind of concessions should sellers be making right now before we get into that frenzy again? And quite frankly, it's price and condition all day long with seller concessions. So you can do closing costs. You can do the 2-1 buy down.
Right.
That's very popular.
Sure.
That will start to cool as we see the frenzy come back in.
Sure,
Again,
yeah, because the seller
and as
won't
rates
need
come
to.
back down.
Right, yeah.
Sellers won't need to.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
So you're looking at usually buyers were asking for closing costs pre-pandemic all the time.
Right.
We're seeing that come back in, and since the fall a little bit, we saw the 2-1 buy down come back in. That's going to start to tick away. So if you're a buyer right now that needs that stuff in your contract, that you need that extra help to buy, you should be out shopping the inventory right now. Also, it just kind of hit me last night too. Open Door is getting crushed. That's the iBuyer company.
Okay, explain that. What is that one?
They go buy people out of their house for cash.
Okay.
And then turn around and put it back on the market. So it was kind of what Zillow did. Remember Zillow closed their iBuyer program a year ago.
Okay.
Open Doors like down below what you can be on the Dow. Like it's not looking good.
Because
I have a question. I've been getting texts, and I'm sure a lot of people have who are listening. Hey, Kelly, we saw your house on blah, blah street.
Or phone calls.
Yeah, and I'm not, my house obviously is not on the market because I would come to you.
List.
And it's so annoying to me. And I get one like at least once a week. So are these private investors?
Usually it's private investors that are buying lists that are just doing text campaigns. Because it's like shotgun effect. I'll shoot a bunch out, and 1 or 2 people will be like, "Whoa, what are you going to give me?"
Well, but you can't get them to stop, because they'll call me and they'll say how much, and I'm like $5 million, and then I don't hear anything. But then somebody else calls me 3 days later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So but Open Door kind of hit me last night. It's like Zillow changed their iBuyer program overnight, and they wanted to dump all their houses in inventory.
Right.
So perhaps if you're a buyer that needs a decent deal right now, maybe you might look at what some of the inventory is that's listed by the Open Door company.
Why are they going to anybody but Kathy Helbig is beyond me, but that's a whole other issue.
Yes.
So price and condition. If you're priced too high and the house doesn't show well,
correct,
it's going to sit no matter what market you're in.
And without the frenzy, if you sit, then you lose control as the seller. So now you're waiting for the buyer to establish what your house is worth. That's why the condition's so important. That's why we came back to helping people fix their house back up in. We brought in our listing concierge service. We just did a house in down south that turned out amazing, just with mostly paint changes and a couple of rooms of carpet and staging. And this house probably went from, it maybe would have sold at, I don't know, $750,000, $800,000. $750,000 probably the way it sits. And we expect it to push over $1 million.
Really?
From probably $15,000 to $20,000 in cosmetic changes. Nothing else was done.
Yeah.
And it looks incredible.
It's so true. You look through the pictures and you're like, oh, man, I'm not spending $750,000 on a house with dirty carpets.
Right, and a lot of people don't understand still. It goes back to that, the old mindset of we'll just throw them a decorating allowance or we'll just offer a carpeting allowance. That I still get that. It drives me crazy. They don't understand.
I'm guilty of that.
You can't easily pass those things on.
Right.
because you have to disguise them as closing costs. The lender, if there's a loan, if the lender's on there, the lender's not going to want to see this house is in what kind of condition that it needs this kind of money to be put into it.
Right.
So that immediately gets red flagged in underwriting. So you have to say, okay, let's say I want to give them a $15,000 carpet allowance because my whole house needs to be redone.
Yeah.
But they also need closing costs. So they wrote in they needed $5,000 closing. Well, maybe their maximum closing cost that's allowed per their loan program is $7,500.
Right.
So how are you going to pass $15,000 to somebody that only $7,500 of it can be disguised as the closing cost? And then now the buyer still has to come with his own closing costs. So it becomes tricky to do that, and people don't understand.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Especially, I might have been guilty of that with you in the room, where I was like, well, they'll just fix it.
Right.
The roof leaks, they'll just fix it.
Yes.
I mean, fix it.
And the other good news for buyers right now is before the real frenzy starts again, the contingencies are still in a lot of the offers.
Really?
But when there starts to be 4, 5, 10 offers, 1 or 2 of those people are going to go, I'll take mine off because I want the house.
Yeah.
And then there we go again.
But ultimately, we're still structurally upside down. We have more people, whether it's a higher interest rate, lower interest rate, we still have more people who want homes than we have homes.
Because keep in mind, the slowdown last year happened because the interest rate hike was crazy fast.
Yeah.
And so that just had everybody's head on a swivel. They had to stop for a minute, take a breath. We went into winter.
Right.
We're back.
Yeah. And the rates have ticked down a little bit. Yeah. 314-276-SOLD. 314-276-SOLD or KathyHelbigGroup.com. Selling, and you want to make sure you're doing it right. Kathy Helbig, right? You need a little cosmetic. You need a little something. You've got programs. You got buyers and sellers and everybody else, and the whole team is great. Thank you, as always.